webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
This evening, those who are listening online as well. As always, we always start off with prayer and then the salute to our flag. And tonight we're very, very honored to have one of my classmates. Let's say what year, but Pastor Timothy Knighton from St. Mary's Community Church, and he comes and prays for us at least once a year, and tonight we're very honored to have him again. So Pastor, please join us. Lead us in prayer.
Good evening. Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for this day and for everything that you're doing in our life. We pray that you bless this day, direct our path, and forgive us for any wrong we've done. We pray that you bless this city commission, that they will make wise and just decisions that will further the impact that we can do in this city. I pray that you will keep your hands on us, that you will watch us and protect us in every aspect of our life. I pray that you will bless not only our city, but our state, not only our state, but our nation. We need you right now. And God, as you're bringing us out of this mess that we're in, we pray that we will continue to do the right thing, and that we will allow you to lead us and guide us. Now I pray again that you will give protection to our city commission, that you will bless them and their families, bless our city as a whole. It is in the precious name of Jesus that we pray. Amen.
Amen. I'm glad you're doing well too. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Pastor, thank you so much for leading us in prayer. Madam Clerk.
Public comments?
And Madam Clerk, I don't believe anyone signed up for public comment virtually either, right? Thank you. At this time, we're open for public comment. Would anyone like to address the commission at this time regarding any matter except for the public hearings that's on the agenda this evening? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Madam Clerk, next item.
Consent agenda?
Before I ask for approval of the consent agenda, is any item I'd have pulled for further consideration? Seeing none, what's the pleasure of the commission?
Move for approval of the agenda, Your Honor.
Second. Moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's the vote. Record the vote, please. The consent agenda is approved with a vote of 5-0. Madam Clerk.
Reports of officers, boards, and committees?
Mr. City Manager, good to see you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Commissioners. First thing on my report, I would like to direct your attention to the fact that I will be executing a contract with Ocala Fence LLC to construct fencing at Oaklawn Cemetery for a total of $42,878.83. This is the project to finish the cemetery fencing that we started last year. You'll recall we built a retaining wall and new wrought iron looking fence on the east side of the road. This will put the same fencing on the west side and complete that project along Wheeler Street, and will help not only improve the look of our cemeteries up there, but also better delineate them and add fencing for the pedestrian safety and so forth in that area. The second item on my report is the annual uniform crime report as filed to the state by our police department. And the chief has broken this down for you, and on the next 2 pages, there are some tables and graphs that explain the overall crime picture. And you'll notice in total crime, as far as UCR tracks, we have a decrease over the last several years, but they are reporting this year a slight uptick in total violent crimes. And you can see in the table below what constitutes violent crimes for this particular report. So that falls within the overall decreasing crime trends, but within that is this uptick in this one particular category. And if you take a look at the table below, you can see that the majority of that increase is coming from the aggravated assault column. Those are the official crime stats that will be filed with FTLE UCR and go into the state's annual report. Also, the next item I think is very positive. You will note that we have installed a new playground at the plantain, and it is a very nice one. And we have a few photographs there for you to see. And I've been keeping you up to date on some other projects we've got going around the city. And today I sent out an update indicating that our general services and Parks and Rec staff have finished some repairs to our tennis center deck. We did those in-house for a tiny fraction of the bid prices that we had received. And we were also able to get it done very quickly. And it was important to keep costs down to make these repairs because, as you know, we were working on a plan to replace that entire facility. So it just didn't make sense to spend $35,000 or $40,000 to do work that we could do in-house for probably a little less than $5,000. So we got that knocked out. I sent you some photographs of it. And then the other thing that has happened since our last meeting is the Cooper Park fitness equipment along the walking trail is now complete. And that's another nice addition to our parks inventory here in the city for our residents and visitors to enjoy. I will let the rest of the report stand, and I stand for any questions.
Any questions for the city manager? First of all, I thought that was a great decision by you and the staff to be able to take care of the tennis center for that low cost. And I know I drove by there this morning and looked at it. It looked fantastic. And so I was actually told the city manager earlier today, so I didn't realize general services had those skills as well. And so that's a great skill set. And it looked really good. So it saved us a lot of money while we're making other decisions. And so great decision of the city manager. City attorney?
Your report, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Clerk.
Yes, I have two resolutions coming before you for reappointments. We had the first one is consideration of a resolution reappointing Robert Folks and Gary Winter to the Code Enforcement Board. Their term expires on April 1. We did advertise the position for a period of 30 days, and we received no other applicants interested in applying. So I have that one for consideration. The second one is reappointing Samuel Greenberg with the Hillsborough County Building Board of Adjustment Appeals and Examiners. It ends April 1st too. And again, we advertised and we received no other interested parties. So
Okay.
all have said that would like to be considered reappointed if you see fit.
So we have two resolutions here, but we can approve both resolutions at once. The commission so desires. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Move for approval
Both resolutions?
for both resolutions.
And second,
In a second, any discussion?
we'll mention that Bob Foltz has served on that code enforcement board now, I believe, at least about 20 years, maybe a few more.
He was on it when I got on the commission, and that was 18 years ago, so it has to be up there.
Well, he told me recently that he wanted to stay as long as it took to break my record on the planning board of 23 years. So I guess he's got a couple to go, but it's pretty close right now.
Who
Any
made
other
the-
discussion?
Motion to approve? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it. You made,
Commissioner Mathis had the motion to approve both resolutions. Commissioner Dawson had the second.
okay, I had it. All right, so there we go.
Okay, please place your vote.
City manager.
Record the vote, please. And it's approved with a vote of 5-0. And by the way, we want to thank all three individuals for, again, willing to serve on these boards. They're really important to the well-being of our city. And it's great when we have citizens willing to serve on our boards because all our boards maintain full capacity. And if you look at a lot of cities have a hard time keeping those boards full with volunteers. So it's a wonderful statement to the character of our city. Madam Clerk, anything else?
That ends my report. Thank you.
That's it. Well, thank you very much. Commissioner Mathis?
Yes, sir. Good evening to everyone. Just a few things. You know, we have our own U2 star, our city manager, and we had our mayor and city manager, you know, doing the parade. And I want to give a special thank you and accolades to Jack Holland. He did the presentation about our parks. And I think our city manager sent it to us. It was on the news. It was a great presentation and he did a phenomenal job. So thank you for that if he's listening. Secondly, we're having another presentation about our new cart to curb presentation. Those that are listening, at the Sadie Gibbs Martin Community Center tomorrow at 6 o'clock. All citizens are invited to attend. Want to congratulate our first family. The first daughter is now married, and the pictures were just beautiful. So congratulations to our first family. And last and certainly not least, there are things that's been happening in our country, even in Atlanta. And I was leaving home today. There's been a shooting in Boulder, Colorado today. So please, let's keep those two cities in our thoughts and prayers. There's no update on it, but someone went into a grocery store and started shooting. And you know, that could even happen here. And I'm so glad that we start every commission meeting in prayer. So just please keep those communities in your thoughts and prayers. And that is it, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Dodson.
Accolades go to the police department for a wonderful job that they're doing, and it's recognized in the form of the reports that's been produced by the police department. The city manager didn't say just how significant the gains were, but in fact, they had a 38.9% decrease in incidents of reports for offenses. And he did refer to the violent crimes, but that only constituted 9%. So it still remains a net gain improvement of 30%, and that's pretty spectacular. And I credit the good work of the officers and the management of the police department and our city manager for doing so. So I just wanted to call out those and make the significance of it. And then a final note on a question for the city manager today. As I was driving about, I went by to check on the progress at the dog park, because that's been underway for a while, as you know. And it looked like they had the bridge covered, but it looked like it had been torn down. So I thought I'd ask, and I didn't get a chance to call you in advance today, so I thought I'd just ask tonight.
The bridge, the covering is not down. That's how they put it on. It's there to protect the bridge from the trees, the leaves and all that until they finish and while they're working around it. And it just has a protective tarp over it.
Yeah. So the tarp was lying and draped over. So
Right.
it looked like maybe it had been.
Because they still have to walk across it with the work they're doing. So that's the way it's been installed.
Is that pretty soon to be completed?
I think so. We're working on resolving a quality control issue right now. And as soon as we get that done, I think it'll move forward. And it should be done in the next several weeks.
Thanks very much for the update. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Also, thanks for pointing out the percentages on the, the crime and so forth. That's fantastic. Commissioner Spartman?
Thank you, Your Honor. I too want to congratulate the First Lady of Plant City on her outstanding weddings that she pulled off for her daughter. That was fabulous. And my friend, the mayor, lived through it. So that's even better. So congratulations. Look, a very loving family and two families coming together. So we pray for them and their future and look forward to little ones running around.
Oh, yeah.
That's when they will.
I don't know how to respond to that, Commissioner.
That's when they will have you right there.
I don't know if I want to see that because I'm already pretty wrapped. I'll tell you, you told me something one time, that walk from the back of the church to the front of the church is one of the longest walks you ever make. So you were right.
For the comment, Your
Thank you
Honor.
very much.
Congratulations.
Vice Mayor.
Is very happy for you, Your Honor, and for Di and your family. Congratulations, and we're just excited for you.
Thank you. Very happy. Well, it was a wonderful celebration, and it's always great to have outstanding people to your family, which occurred. So we're very, very, very lucky. Thank you so much. Temple Terrace, in their last meeting, asked this commission to join them in a couple of bills that are being sponsored by both the House and the Senate this year. And one of the bills is Senate Bill 60 and House Bill 883. And what this would do is, currently our code enforcement, we get when there's potential violations of code violations in our city. Some are, people leave their information, and some are anonymous. We don't know who the individual are, who they, you know, and sometimes they choose that because it might be a neighbor or something like that. And so then it gives us the ability to be able to go out and then be able to, you know, inspect it ourselves as a city. And so that bill would make it where we would not be able to act on anonymous reports. Okay. And so that would really change code enforcement a lot compared to how we do today. And so that's one that they would like for us to join in us to vote on like they did, and then to send a letter to our corresponding representatives and so forth. And then there's another bill that they would like to consider as well. And this is Senate Bill 522 and House Bill 219. And what that bill does is that it preempts local governments to having any say-so on short-term rentals, okay? So that means that, let's say if we had a district in our town or neighborhoods or, and we said, you know, we don't want to allow nightly rentals for homes, okay? We could set a policy where it could be a monthly rental or a weekly rental, or we could say it's that you could be allowed nightly rental. But what this bill here would take that authority away from us of having any say-so on what the length of time that those rentals would be for neighborhoods. I'm not talking about hotels, I'm talking about for residential homes. And so, you know, I know that, you know, I'm pretty sure usually we stand pretty strong on home rule. You know, we want to be able to make those decisions locally, and then whatever we do, then this board can react to how our citizens and our city and our community feel. And then we can apply, but this would take our authority away to be able to respond to those needs of our city. So if it's okay with this commission, I'd like for us to have a voice vote, you know, on supporting those two initiatives and saying that we oppose those being approved in the House and the Senate. I talked to the city attorney about them as well. He's aware of these bills also. And so this would just be a letter stating that the city of Plant City opposes those two bills that are currently before the House and the Senate. Any discussion, or?
Would that be in the form of a letter or a resolution or what?
City attorney?
Just in terms of timing, it probably needs to be in the form of a letter.
So they did theirs in form of well, theirs is in a resolution, but we could do it in a letter as well then, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Make a motion to do it in the form of a letter.
Okay, both bills?
Both bills.
I
Okay.
would second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I will like to express my dismay with this year's session of the legislature. The way they're starting off is not good. The purposeful attacks they're having on home rule with local communities governing their own communities adequately and provocatively as they should are being disrupted by a holier than thou type of attitude that's coming out of Tallahassee. It's very discouraging to hear that. We need more former city council, city commission members in the state legislature that understands the needs of local community governance at the local level instead of being told how to govern from Tallahassee at the local level. They also had another bill that the city attorney and city manager sent us out a note about just in the last week or so. It has to do with governance over how we deal with planned developments and the restrictions they're trying to impose through two bills going through the legislature at the same time. Both House and the Senate have bills that would restrict us from considering the element of design in a planned development. And that's an outrage. That's an absolute outrage that they would think that that's a good idea. It shocked me to hear that that would be even considered at the state legislature.
Again, that's a home rule.
And yeah, it's an
Decision,
invasion
yes.
on, it's an attack on home rule. Yeah. Every local community should have and does have the right to establish their own ordinance and pass them as a legal document in manner in which they wish to govern their community and to see how it's developed. And the element of design in a big, large-scale planned development is a very important component. For me, especially, it's very important. And I'm really upset about the state legislature even considering this matter. So I would suggest that in this letter, that we also include commentary on those two bills at the Senate and House level. I can't tell you what the bill numbers are.
284,
Okay, you know the numbers, and I would suggest that the mayor and his terminology used in the letter, he also itemized that item for that concept of what's being considered as an attack on home rule.
Okay, is that an amendment to the?
If you like, I can make an amendment to the motion to include.
Or do you want to vote on this and make it unanimous then? Or for the third part?
however you want to do it. I mean, certainly you can include it. Was there a motion made already with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we could have an amendment and then,
Okay. Okay, we have an amendment. Is there a second on the amendment?
I make an amendment to the motion.
Okay, so you're going to amend the original motion then? Yes, we have an amendment to the original motion. So the amendment now is the first two that we discussed, Senate Bill 60, House Bill 883, and then Senate Bill 522 and House Bill 219, and along with Senate Bill 284. Did I hear you right? Okay. And so that was an amended motion. Want to second that again, Commissioner Mathis? Okay. And we can vote on all three of them at one time here. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all four say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So then we will put together a letter opposing those three bills on behalf of this commission. Thank you. Okay. That concludes my remarks. I would like to say that based on the agenda that we'll have in our next commission meeting, unless the commissioner feels otherwise, we would not have a blended meeting in our next commission meeting, which would be a virtual meeting. Based on we don't have we don't have any public hearings that be occurring in the next meeting to where it would create a need to have a virtual meeting. So I think from talking to the city manager, we'll do this on a case-by-case basis. As when we have public hearings where we know that there's going to be a lot of participation in, or we anticipate to be a lot of participation in, or where it could, then we'll go ahead and for the time being have a virtual meeting. But for those meetings, we know that there's nothing on the agenda that would create that need, then we won't have a virtual meeting for those. So we, from speaking about our next agenda with the city attorney and with the clerk, and the clerks already pulled the announcement from the Tribune. So the next meeting would be a live meeting. So for everyone listening in, if you want to participate in this next meeting, it would be a live meeting unless the commission feels otherwise.
I'd like to comment on that, Mr. Mayor. It seems like that might create some confusion because now people are in the mode of being aware that they can listen virtually or come to City Hall as they choose. So I don't have any objection to it at all. I think it's a reasonable way to conduct it. But I would suggest that city manager, along with Fried Egg, through our social media, get an announcement out.
Okay.
So that would avoid the possibility of some that listen regularly that also watch on social media to know that that's how we're going to move forward with conducting public hearings virtually as well as in person. But otherwise.
Well, I agree with you. We want to make sure we're clear and communicating. That's a great idea. But like the last meeting, there's a lot of work to go through to put this on virtually. And we had 10 people that that listened in, and a lot of those were staff. So but then when we have public hearings where we're annexing properties, changing zonings, there we have a lot of participation. I think it's very vital and it's good for us and so forth. And I think that for the time being, we'll take it on a case-by-case basis. And so if there's no other objection to this next meeting, we'll have we won't have the virtual.
One comment, would be that like you said, there was only 10 people. We've got more than what we normally have at a commission meeting as it is here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a waste of money and manpower for us to continue having I think our meetings are back to normal. And so we should go back to normal and have them here, like we've always had them in years past.
I've been doing this since June.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we've
I
opened since
think
June.
it's time that we discontinued that process for the manpower it takes and for the amount of effort it does for the clerk and other people is very hard to put the show basically on. And I'd like to see us discontinue it completely.
Thank you very much. So that concludes my remarks, and we will proceed in our meeting. Madam Clerk, next item.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
did I understand Commissioner Sparkman to make a motion on that?
I don't know, was that a motion?
Not a motion.
Not a motion.
but I think the staff and the commission need to consider.
Okay. I thought I heard you say motion. No.
Oh, no.
In a second.
My next meeting, if it goes, after next meeting, if it
So
goes
you're-
well.
You've adopted a policy to allow the mayor to make that call. I mean, that's been the policy from the beginning. So certainly it's within the mayor's authority to discontinue having hybrid meetings if he desires. He's obvious. I know he prefers the live in-person meetings. Absolutely.
We all do.
But that's the
Okay.
policy is already established to have the mayor make that call.
And as you can tell, tonight, we still have the ability to have social distancing for anyone that is in place here tonight, so. So let's do this next meeting. No sense, we'll go ahead and move forward like we just discussed, and in the next meeting, like Commissioner Sparkman said, we'll address it again, okay? Because at that point in time, we'll know what the agenda will look like for the following meeting, okay? Madam Clerk, next item.
Public hearings. This is a public hearing on an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Plant City, Florida, adopting an amendment to the comprehensive plan and the comprehensive plan future land use map as provided by law and providing for an effective date, PC/CPA 20-07.
Okay, we have Mr. Mark Hudson on the line virtually joining us this evening. Mr. Hudson, so good to hear from you.
Yes, Mark Hudson, Planning Commission staff. Can you hear me clearly, Mayor?
Yes, you sound wonderful.
Great. Look forward to seeing you next month in person. We have one plan amendment to present to you this evening, PCCPA 20-07. If I could have the next slide. This is the location of the plan amendment. It is under for consideration for adoption this evening. It is south and west of South Wiggins Road. It's basically located at the corner of where South Wiggins Road goes from north-south to east and west. And you can see here where it's located on your vision, which is also very close to the new warehouse distribution facility for Home Depot. If I could have the next slide, please. This shows you the site in question. It is surrounded by the lavender dash line. This aerial is a little bit dated. As you can see, the agricultural fields to the east, which is now the location Home Depot distribution site. And you can see the area that has been the closed now Coronet Mine. To the north are some single-family homes on large lot development. Next slide, please. This is a privately initiated plan amendment as a result of a voluntary annexation. It is over 10 acres, coming in at just under 20 acres. The current land use is Hillsborough County Residential 1, and the applicant has requested Plant City Residential 4 for the northern half of the parcel, and on the southern half of the parcel, they would like to have parks, recreation, open space to allow a private baseball training facility at that location. Next slide, please. This shows you the future land use map as it is today. It shows you the gray area of the Coronet Mine to the west, and also the industrial land use classification of the now Home Depot Distribution Center. I will say there also is a single-family home that was adjacent to the east that has since annexed into the city as well and will be the subject of a future plan amendment. And you can see the the single-family homes of the Hillsborough County Residential 1 and Residential 2 to the north. Next slide, please. This shows you how the land use would change if you so approve tonight. It shows you the residential 4 on the northern half of the parcel, which where the owner will continue to reside, and the green color of the Parks Recreation Open Space where the baseball training facility would be located to the south of the plan amendment area. Next slide, please. We did review this based on maximum build out, density and intensity. Today in the Hillsborough County, you could have 18 dwelling units. Based on the residential 4 for the northern half of the parcel, that would go up to 34 dwelling units. And we did some of our analysis based on allowing 107,000 square feet of recreation open space uses. This is a 0.25 floor area ratio, which is allowed by the plan category. Next slide. I have a couple of aerials and some slides to show you, to give you a bit of idea of the character of the area. This is an aerial photograph, again, showing what the agricultural uses to the east, which is now the Home Depot Distribution Center, and the now closed Cordette Mine to the west. And if you look up Wiggins Road on the northern part of this aerial, you can see some of the single family homes. If I could have the next slide. This is a little bit more recent aerial. You can see the on the edge of the slide, the Home Depot Distribution Center under construction. You can see the property owner already has a baseball field on the back portion or the southern portion of the property where he's seeking the recreational land use category. And you can see his residence on the northern piece of that property, which would have the residential 4 plan category. If I could have the next slide. This shows you the access to the site from South Wiggins Road. Next slide. And this is looking north on South Wiggins Road, and you can see in the distance of the residential homes. Next slide. And this is looking east on South Wiggins Road. You can see some of the residential homes on the north side of the road, and on the southern side of the road, again, you see those agricultural uses that now have been developed as the Home Depot Distribution Center. Next slide. Our staff did review this in particular through the future land use element of the Imagine 2040 Plant City Comprehensive Plan. In particular, we looked at policy, goals, objectives, and policies related to neighborhood conservation, community development, regulations concerning annexations, rules and objectives dealing with growth management, the provision of public facilities and creation and open space. The complete goals, objectives, and policies in your packet. Our staff did feel that these policies supported the applicant's request. If I could have the next slide. Though I understand the applicant's agent, there is no intent, at least immediately, develop any additional residential units. But if that did occur, that we would need to go through concurrency with the Hillsborough County School District, as there are some lack of student stations at some local schools. When they go through the zoning process, if any transportation improvements are deemed necessary, those will be coordinated with Hillsborough County, as that roadway is a Hillsborough County roadway. We did talk to your utilities director and did not see any issues with water and wastewater services. And finally, there is environmental system, creek that runs through the property, and that environmental amenity will be protected not only by the Environmental Protection Commission's rules and regulations, but also the city's regulations as well. If I could have the next slide. This has gone through a lengthy process. It was reviewed by your planning board on December 9th. They did find it consistent with the Imagine 2040 Plant City Comprehensive Plan. The Planning Commission made the same finding on January 11th. Based on your direction, we transmitted this to the Department of Economic Opportunities on January 25th. We received a letter back from them that they had no objections, and we are here this evening for your final consideration. If If I could have the next slide. With that, our planning commission staff recommends that the city commission adopt an ordinance approving PCCPA 20-07 that proposes to change the land use designation of the affected parcel to Plant City Residential 4 and Parks, Recreation, and Open Space. Mayor, I stand for any questions you have, and I also believe the applicant's agent is in attendance to also respond to any questions you may have.
Okay, Mr. Hudson, thank you for your presentation. Any questions for Mr. Hudson? Okay, Mr. Hudson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Will the applicant maybe be presenting anything? Please come forward, name and address for the record.
Good evening, everyone. Colin Rice, again, here, good to be with you this evening. 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 2800. Here on behalf of the applicant, I understand that there's a rezoning subsequent portion to this, so I may let city staff present and then I'll just be available for any questions. I know we've gone through this property a handful of times, so happy to answer questions.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, this is a public hearing regarding item 6A, number 1 on the agenda. Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission at this time? This is a public hearing. Public hearing is closed. What's the pleasure of the commission? Okay, we need to defer that until we have the quasi judicial. Okay. If you're going to be participating in the 2 quasi judicial public hearings tonight, which is 6A number 2 and 6B number 1, if you would, please stand up and be sworn in by our clerk. I mentioned that one. Okay.
Do you swear or affirm that your testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Madam Clerk.
This is a public hearing on ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Plant City, Florida, rezoning property located at 1411 South Wiggins Road from Hillsborough County AS-1 Agricultural Single Family -1 to PD Plan Development District in accordance with the Plan Development Site Plan of Fox Property Plan Development District as filed in the office of the city clerk.
Ms. Baker, good to see you.
Good to see you. Robin Baker, Senior Planner with the Planning and Zoning Association, or not the Association, Planning and Zoning Division. And I have been sworn in. Get the presentation up here for you. You're going to have to hear a little bit of this information again, but you know what they say, repetition helps sink in, so it can't hurt, right?
It's all good news, right?
All good news. So the application is PB 2020-28 for the Fox Property Plan Development District rezoning. The site is located at 1411 South Wiggins Road. The clicker's not working.
Is it on?
Yeah,
Try it now. Yeah.
there we go. 1411 South Wiggins Road, which is on the south side of South Wiggins Road, west of South County Line Road. As Mark told you, it's at the very back west side of the Home Depot distribution warehouse. The site is approximately 18.57 acres and was recently annexed into the city in February of this year. Future land use on the property is Hillsborough County Residential 1, and as you know, is currently under review for change to Recreation, Open Space, and Residential 4. The existing zoning on site is Hillsborough County AS1, which is one of their agriculture single-family districts that allows 1 unit per acre. The planned development district is being requested in order to permit an existing private training facility and single-family uses. The PD plan that you see there on this slide is split into 2 areas of the site, which they're labeling as parcel 1 and parcel 2. Under parcel 1 would be allowed up to 4 units per acre, and on parcel 2 would be a private commercial athletics training facility with a square footage of about 3,832 square feet. The maximum height on the property will be 45 feet for the training facility and 35 feet for the single-family residential. There's 1 full access proposed along South Wiggins, which is currently a dirt road access. The only reason I'm really showing you this slide, just help you understand that they will have to bring this driveway up to city standards. So immediately after this PD rezoning, if approved, they would have to go through a site plan review process to show how they're going to create that access. We did send out for agent review, and the only comments that we got back that needed to be addressed were from the Environmental Protection Commission. There are wetlands on site, and there are multiple areas that may impact those wetlands. So EPC asked that we added some conditions to the site plan that basically said that just because the PD is approved doesn't mean the impacts are approved. They would have to get approval from the EPC to impact any of the wetlands shown on the site plan. After a phone call received from one of the adjacent property owners, the applicant worked with Mr. Manning and is providing some enhanced buffering along the north boundary along Mr. Manning's property. On January 27th, the planning board found the request consistent with Article 4, Division 8, Chapter 102 of the Plant City Code of Ordinances and the Imagine 2040 Plant City Comprehensive Plan if the requested land use change to R4 and recreation open space is approved this evening. And they voted 7-0 for the application to be forwarded to the City Commission with a recommendation of approval. Therefore, staff recommends the City Commission adopt an ordinance approving the rezoning from Hillsborough County AS1 to PD Plan Development District, which we will call the Fox Property Plan Development District. I'm here if you have any questions.
Any questions, Ms. Baker? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Does the applicant like to speak about this as well? Okay, thank you. Okay, this is public hearing number 6A, number 2. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. If you can participate at this time, please come forward and name, address, and please state that you have been sworn in. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the commission at this time? Seeing none, this public hearing is closed. So we're going to go back to item 6A, number 1. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve item 6.1. Can we do 2 at the same time, or have to do it separate? Just 1. Okay, motion is just on item 1.
Okay.
To approve.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. And it's approved with a vote of 5-0. And now we have the rezoning. What's the pleasure of the commission?
You move for approval, Your Honor.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. And it's approved with a vote of 5-0. Okay. Madam Clerk, next item.
This is a quasi-judicial public hearing on an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Plant City, Florida, rezoning approximately 111.88 acres of property located south of Frontage Road, east of Wilder Road, west of Sun Keene Road, and north of Wilder Reserve Drive from McMullen Corporate Park Plan Development District, Sun Landings Community Unit District, and R-1A Single Family Dwelling District to PD Plan Development District in accordance with the Plan Development Site Plan of the City Furniture Plan Development District as filed in the office of the city clerk.
Good evening again.
Welcome.
Robin Baker, Planning and Zoning Division, and I have been sworn in. The next request before you is PB 2021-08, which is the City Furniture Plan Development District rezoning. The site is located on the south side of I-4 at the southeast corner of Sun Keene Road and South Frontage Road. It's approximately 111.88 acres, has a future land use of mixed-use residential commercial, residential 4, and industrial, and a vast majority of the site is located within the I-4 Tech corridor overlay. The zoning on the site is McMullen Corporate Park PD, Sun Landings PD, and R1A. This graphic gives you a breakdown of the 3 different zonings that are on the property. Today, currently, the Sun Landings PD is approved for 20 single-family units, 200 multifamily units, 105,000 square feet of retail, 45,000 square feet of office, and the McMullen Corporate Park PD is approved for 1,095,543 square feet of industrial, bioscience, or scientific facilities and support uses. The R1A portion, of course, would be allowed to have R1A uses on that portion of the site. Unfortunately, it's completely covered in a wetland, so it's not exactly developable. The applicant under this application proposes rezoning of the subject parcel from PD and R1A to a planned development district, which will be named the City Furniture Planned Development District. The applicant's request is to permit 1,263,250 square foot production distribution warehouse for city furniture, which includes a 176,761 square foot furniture showroom for retail sales and 57,419 square foot support office and cafe uses. This is an overall view of the site plan itself. You'll see that it's split into Zone 1 and Zone 2. All of that square footage I just mentioned is going to be located in Zone 1, and Zone 2 is going to be used for landscaping and buffering to separate from the single-family homes to the south, as well as some stormwater, and there's a large portion of the wetland there on that site as well. The applicant is requesting a few specific approvals, as is allowed under our new PD code ordinance. The first one is a reduction in the required number of parking spaces. They're requesting the elimination of the tree requirement for parking islands in the area labeled South Employee Parking, which is just that small area there on the south side of that graphic with the small red circle. And the last specific approval is for the allowance of truck parking and loading in a portion of the front of the building facing South Frontage Road, which is where that large red circle is there. To help mitigate the parking in the front and rear of the building, they are providing an enhanced buffering and landscaping in those areas, including an 8-foot wall that you will not be able to see through. The parking study was submitted with the application to explain the reduction request in the parking. And basically, since this particular use will use shift work, the study basically said that they wouldn't have to have that many spaces. I guess currently the code allows or requires 0.6 spaces per 1,000 square feet of industrial square footage. So they're asking for a reduction to 726 spaces as opposed to the 1,124 that would be required by the code. And the parking study that was submitted showed proof that this has worked at the other locations that they have for city furniture as well.
Can I interrupt you?
Yes, sir.
I was curious about that statement when I read over the report. Was there any inquiry from planning and zoning about that experience in other locations that in fact that has been okay?
It was included in the report that was submitted with the application about the other locations that had employed the same amount of parking spaces.
So that statement was made by an independent party that was doing the survey or the study on behalf of the applicant?
Correct.
Okay, so you take it that information is accurate?
I do, yes. It was prepared by a professional, and these particular types of situation, I don't know if you remember, but our code used to use that calculation to determine the parking spaces for industrial. Once upon a time, it was based on the largest amount of employees on any particular shift. And then at some point it was changed to require 0.6 spaces per 1,000 square feet, which is generally, I think, normal for a normal size industrial building. But when you get up in the million square footage, you know, you're required to have way more surface parking than you may actually need because you're not employing the same amount of employees 8 to 5. You know, it's shift work, so it's spread out throughout the 24 hours in a day. So based on the information that we used to require and the information that was required in the report, we were satisfied with the information that was
Have they indicated how many employees that they're having on the day shift, the larger shift size?
It was in that report, and I don't remember it off the top of my head, but the applicant is here, and I'm sure that they can answer that question for you.
All right.
Okay.
I'll ask some questions because then I know we can finish your report. The 8-foot wall, was that our request?
It was not.
Okay, that's their request.
It was. And ultimately, you know, our code, when they ask for these specific approvals, we're looking for something a little extra to help protect the neighbors. And that was their suggestion, their submittal that they came up with to help protect the trucks that would be in those areas and protect people from having to view that.
Okay. I was just wondering because I've seen their other properties and their buildings are beautiful. And so I would hate to have this building obstructed if we were asking for that, but if they have a reason for asking that, I understand. Okay.
And
I
I'll
was just
let
hoping it wasn't us, trying to mandate an 8-foot wall when their buildings are absolutely gorgeous as it is.
Right, and you'll see some renderings here in just a moment that it's not the entire building that's being covered up. It's only just the portion that has the loading docks.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Please proceed.
Well, let me follow
Go
up on that. Is the elevation at the interstate as you pass by this property, isn't the elevation on the interstate higher than the property is? So you're looking down from the interstate into the property, and it's only on frontage road where you actually come in contact face to face at land level with that wall?
You can drive down that road and not see the cars on the interstate,
That's what I thought.
on the frontage road.
Yeah.
You cannot see the
Well, and
cars.
there's a wall there as well on the interstate there.
I had a similar reaction to it. I saw 8-foot opaque wall. That seems obtrusive. But I understand too that we're trying to protect some adjoining residential properties. But
And
seems
it's
like
not
a
just for the view,
significant
it's also
structure.
for the noise too,
And some
to
noise.
help cut down on the truck brakes and that kind of thing that happens in
But
that area.
those properties are also subject to noise from the interstate.
Correct.
Yeah, and they're probably getting more noise from interstate traffic than they would from employees coming back and forth to work.
Right.
Okay. Please
Move
proceed.
on? Okay. So obviously the infrastructure for the site, the developer will be required to connect to water and sewer and extend that water and sewer if necessary. The utilities department did comment that capacity to serve the proposed development was available. The site was inspected by the Environmental Protection Commission and it was determined that there are wetlands on site. Again, with this PD, we've added some conditions from the EPC that basically state that even though the PD is approved, impacts to the wetland are not just automatically approved, but based on the site plan, the area shown in blue there is what is shown as the wetland, and they're not proposing any impacts to that particular wetland at this time. So, a transportation study was conducted and it was determined that at the central entrance to the property along South Frontage Road warranted a right turn lane approximately 235 feet long if approved by DOT. This is a DOT road, so they will have to go and get that permission from DOT to install such a turn lane, but I believe they're already in conversations with DOT about that, and they can talk to you about that when they come up. So these are the renderings that were submitted as part of the PD application. This is the side of the property that would have the showroom and the cafe and office uses. And then this is just a glimpse of the other side of the building of where the loading docks would be. And it would look like this, I'm assuming, on the front and on the back of the building. On February 24th, 2021, the planning board found the rezoning request consistent with the Plant City Code of Ordinances and the Imagine 2040 Plant City Comprehensive Plan and voted 5-0 to be forwarded to the City Commission with a recommendation of approval. Therefore, staff recommends the City Commission adopt an ordinance approving the proposed city furniture plan development district. I'm here if you have any further questions.
Any questions for Ms. Becker?
We got her enough.
Thank you very much. Okay, I believe at this time, we have the applicant, Ms. Elise Bessel, will be presenting. Good to see you again this evening. Welcome back.
Hello, everybody this evening. Elise Batzel with Stearns Weaver, 401 East Jackson Street, and I have been sworn.
Thank you.
We will flip through a couple of these slides quickly. I'm going to speak for a few minutes, and then we're going to have Sheila Tyree with Height Design talk about a few of the planning aspects. We want to clarify some of those issues that you brought up with respect to the fence and the buffering. And then the founder of City Furniture would like to address you for just a couple of minutes and explain why Plant City. When I came to start working with City Furniture, I went through an interview process, and Plant City kind of did the same thing without you really knowing. And I think it's a very interesting story, and I think you'll appreciate him sharing. You already know where this property is, so I'll skip past this slide. The future land use, of course, is MURC, R4, and natural preservation. That's the area that you see in blue. It is part of the Interstate 4 Tech Corridor Overlay, which does encourage this type of warehousing and distribution facility. There was a little bit of confusion at the planning board, so I wanted just for purposes of any neighbors that are here to be clear that these existing developments are as of right today. And although there are 220 residential units approved as of today, this request does not include any kind of residential development. What we are proposing, as you know, is 1,029,000 square feet of warehousing and distribution, a 400,000 square foot office, 176,000 plus square foot showroom and cafe. As you can see, this aerial depicts a little bit better the area that's the wetland. We aren't proposing any kind of impact to that wetland, so we have modified our site plan to push all of the development to the west to preserve that natural element. Here you can see it's a little bit easier to see in color. The area in red is the actual building, the warehousing, the showroom, and the distribution facility. To the southern boundary, you'll see the area that we've designated as stormwater retention. This 10-foot enhanced buffer goes a portion basically around the entire building area. One of the things that we are happy to talk about as part of this process is we proposed an 8-foot fence. Part of that was just to buffer the neighbors from the visual aspects of trucks coming in and out. If this commission prefers a 6-foot fence instead of an 8-foot fence, I'm sure we'd be happy to put that as well. We just did have the 8-foot fence with landscaping on the outside to protect the neighbors that are along Sun Keene Road. I'm going to turn this over to Sheila real quick. She's going to talk a little bit about the planning aspects of the specific.
Can we move that real quick?
Yes, sir.
So I understand the buffering on the Sun King Road, okay? But the buffer on I-4, okay, can you just expand on that a little bit more?
Of course. So the buffer, the enhanced buffer along I-4 was really because we are asking for truck traffic to be able to circulate on the front of the building. Part of that is because in order to protect this wetland, we've had to scoot the building a little bit closer to I-4, and the truck circulation requires the ability to go in the front of the building as well as the back of the building. And so because there'll be truck parking and trucks coming in and out, that was meant as a visual barrier. So when you see the renderings, we do have renderings of what it's going to look like with the buffer.
Okay.
And the idea was that you saw the top of the building coming over, but it was just enough buffer from I-4 so that you saw the fencing, you saw the landscape, and you saw the top of the building without seeing the actual truck traffic going in and out of the front of that building. That was the thought process behind that.
Okay. I mean, personally, I'm speaking personally here, but I definitely like the buffer you have for the residents on the west of Sun King Road there, and those are south of the property here. I think that looks really good. I was just also concerned about if you're putting a facility up like this. I know we'll see those renderings in a minute. I just didn't want to take away from the aesthetics of the building because I think this
absolutely.
is you're investing a lot of money to making sure this enhances our city.
Absolutely. And
so,
I'm sure, listen, City Furniture wants you to see their building and they want you to know that they're located there as well. One of the things that the neighbors expressed concerns about also was traffic along Sun Keene Road. So it's really important that we emphasize that the only access to Sun Keene Road is an emergency access for emergency vehicles. There is going to be a knock box there so that if an emergency vehicle needs to go in, they'll run that over, but it won't allow any kind of traffic to go onto Sun Keene Road. Okay. Right now, with the existing PD, those improved entitlements would be entitled to use Sun Keene Road. So this would actually be an improvement for traffic along Sun Keene Road and hopefully an improvement for the neighbors as well.
Okay.
Before I turn it over to Sheila, are there any other questions for me?
I think we're good.
Sheila?
And for the record, I'll need you to, okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Sheila Tyree. I have Notes Boulevard, and I have been sworn in. And so with this project, as Elise started talking about, we are asking for the parking reduction since we will have employees on shift work because that's the specific approval number 1. And then number two, we do need to have loading docks in the front of the building, which is prohibited by your code, but because we had to push the building all the way over due to the wetland, we are asking to be allowed to have the loading docks in front of the building. And that's why we have that screening. And I'll get to some renderings here in a minute. And then the third specific approval is alternative landscaping down just in that southern employee parking area, because there will be trucks going through there, so we didn't want to have trees. Because, you know, when you have pedestrians walking through trees, sometimes you don't see them. So this way the truck drivers will have clear view while they're driving through that parking area. And so now we get into some of the renderings. And this is the showroom end. And just a different angle. This is again the showroom portion. This is going to be on the side of the building, so kind of along here. That would be the corporate offices, and then there will be an area for customers if they want to pick up their own orders. They're going to have a separate loading area just for customers that pick up trucks or a small box truck or something. They'll be separated from the tractor trailer traffic. And this is the loading area. So this is where we were looking at doing the 8-foot fence. If you kind of look off to the right on that top picture, so that would be frontage road. So we were going to screen just the loading docks with that 8-foot fence and landscaping. So you're still going to see the building over the fence. You just won't see all that truck traffic. And again, if you prefer a 6-foot fence or just landscaping, we can certainly change the design. This is kind of what it would look like from the frontage road. If you see that fence and then the landscaping in front of it, as I said, you can still see the building above the fence. And this is an example of what it would look like as you were driving on frontage road. In your comprehensive plan, there is the Interstate 4 Technical Corridor Overlay. It's land use objective 8.3. This is a target industry. And the project has access to South Frontage Road, and it's less than 1 mile from the I-4 interchange at North Park Road. And that interchange between I-4 and Park Road is considered a commercial activity center on your vision map. And that designation is assigned to only 2 of the 5 interchanges that Plant City has on I-4. Land use policy 8.3.2 is more in detail about the overlay and the specific target industries that Plant City is wanting to bring to the city. And 8.3.3 specifically talks about a master planned industrial park. And as I said, we are meeting all the requirements of the code except for those 3 specific approvals that we are asking for the plan development. And I'm going to get Elise to bring up the CEO.
Before I introduce Keith, I did want to answer your question, Commissioner Dodson, about the parking and the employee parking. The study is based on actual parking at their Tamarack facility. So they've been in operation since 2000 at that facility. And so they've gathered parking data since 2000 moving forward to today. And we provided that to Walker Parking. Walker Parking actually took that data and then used it along with various industry standards for retail, the furniture showroom. So the employee parking was just one element that they examined. And the highest number of employees assumed at any period of time was 471 employees. That would assume that all of those employees were parking on site at one particular time, which is typically the highest time at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So while some of the data was supplied from City Furniture, the industry standards were also applied in a fairly complicated parking analysis, but to come up with the parking that was required on site. So just wanted to clarify that, and hopefully it answers.
Make sure I've got that straight in my mind. 470 employees plus the traffic generated by retail sales from the showroom.
That's right.
So you
So we have
still got,
776 spaces. I think I'm telling you that
you've
from
got another
memory.
300 spots available for retail sales.
Yes, retail, the showroom, and then the 471 peak employees. It's going to vary down from there,
Yeah.
but those are all combined to, yes, sir.
That makes me feel a little more comfortable. It's a big facility, so we certainly don't want to come up short on parking. That was the only,
Absolutely. And
that was
he
the
can
only
probably,
matter that I had any concern over.
no, you obviously don't want to have, inadequate parking. But they've been in business for a long time at their Tamarack facility, which is also a very large facility. And, we wanted to make sure that we took actual parking studies and actual data from a site that functions. They also have a warehousing distribution facility, a showroom there. So some of that internal capture has sort of been vetted since 2000. And all of that information and all of those daily counts were supplied to Walker Parking to come up
I
with
feel
a
like I'm
study.
really aware of city furniture properties in South Florida in particular, because I've done a lot of travel over the years in that area. And I've come across their properties, and they always seem to be well managed and well organized. So I understand what you're talking about. I was just concerned on the city's behalf because when we approve a specific request for approval on limited parking spaces, we do it for infinity.
I
Whether
understand.
you're there or somebody else, and if somebody else comes in and said, well, this already been approved, but they demand more, then
You have provided a great segue for me to introduce Keith, because he's going to talk a little bit about White Plant City and how he plans to stay here for a really long time.
we hope so.
Yes, we are. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Keith Koenig. I am the CEO and principal of City Furniture. And I reside at 6,000 Cypress Road in Plantation, Florida, and I have been sworn in.
Thank you very much.
So it's a real honor to be here with you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I want to start with two compliments, and this is why I love Plant City already. First of all, I started with a prayer. I've been in many commission meetings and many board meetings, and that's rarity. It's not in zero, but it's a rarity. So first, thank you, and ask Pastor to thank you for his blessings for us all. The second is you have a really good staff, and I mean that sincerely. We do a lot of projects. I've had the opportunity to do this for now almost 50 years. And it's a real pleasure to run across a professional staff that is efficient and intelligent and responsive. So I want to start with that. So the real reason is Elise asked me to come and talk about why Plant City. Well, the reality is you're in the perfect spot. Plant City is the perfect spot for us to build our home. And I'm sure it's the perfect spot for many of your friends and neighbors to build their homes. Well, it's the perfect place to build our business home. And it's going to be the home for many of our associates. I'll get to the parking in a second. For the parking spaces we have plenty. And the short answer is we work 24/7. So even though we're talking about 500 jobs, we'll never have more than 200 or 300 there at the same point in time. Because there's 24/7, there's multiple shifts, 7 days a week. So those people will never all show up at the same time, except for maybe our grand opening party, and that may be a little bit of a challenge, but I think we'll still have plenty of space. In either case, why Plant City? You're in the perfect spot. We have grown from a little small water bed store that my late brother opened in 1971. I started working with him in 1972. We'll have our 50th anniversary this fall. And Kevin was a great entrepreneur, and I was lucky to be his partner and take over the business after he passed away. We had a buy-sell, long story short. But it's a family business. My son grew up at the dinner table learning about City Furniture and the furniture business. My son-in-law is Ryan back there, and he's married to my beautiful daughter. And their kids and my other grandkids, we hope to be involved in the family business forever. This is going to be a family business, and we are family kind of people. So why is Plant City the perfect space? You happen to be in just the perfect spot. From a distribution standpoint, from a retail standpoint, you might think, the biggest furniture store, I'll bet everybody here a nickel, that in the next 2 years, within 2 years after we open up in Plant City, the showroom that we build there will be the highest volume furniture store in the state of Florida. You might say, Plant City. Well, guess where the #1 furniture store in the state of Florida is right now? Is attached to our warehouse in Tamarack. And this showroom is going to be bigger than our Tamarack showroom. And the warehouse is going to be larger than our Tamarack showroom because it's going to be the base of operations for expansion throughout all the Tampa market, all the way through Sarasota down the West Coast, and into Orlando and all the way to Daytona, and support Daytona and Melbourne furniture sales. As we all know, Florida is booming. And people want to come and enjoy the quality of life that we all enjoy. So we are very optimistic about investing in the future. A big warehouse, this is a very important investment for our company, and it's one we can afford and one we're going to make extremely successful. The building is going to be a beautiful building. I personally believe people driving on I-4 from Tampa to Orlando, and everybody does that sooner or later, is going to drive by your property, our building, and they're going to look and go, wow, that's special. That's big. We keep our properties, as I think some of you have said, and I'm very grateful for that. We keep our properties immaculate. Brian's in charge of all real estate. He's in charge of all property. And we have a very high standard, but people will drive by and they go, wow, it's beautiful. And it's only X number of minutes away to drive. When you're going to spend, our average sale is $1,770. When somebody is willing to spend $1,770 and buy furniture that they're going to live with for years to come, they want to go touch and feel and see it and see the people they're doing business with. And when they drive by a big warehouse like that, the distribution center we're going to build, they recognize that it's worth the drive to go see it. We're also going to market this as the biggest furniture store in the state of Florida, and the biggest in the Southeast. And people will come from all over. I don't know whether you want this or not, but I think other businesses will wake up and look at Plant City in a way that maybe they hadn't looked at before. It's only about 20 minutes to downtown Tampa, and it's not too far all the way. We were in Lakeland today, and this is a really good central area. All right, a few other things why City Furniture is a good spot for you. Family business. We've been in business for 49 years, soon to be 50. And I think we share your family values, or at least I sense that. We are a family company. Our families have grown together. And so many people in our organization have built families with that. We have long tenure with many of our associates, and we have a strong management team. And we're into the second generation, as I said, in many cases. Even other associates have brought kids. But community responsibility. We've done for years, but my son really put it together to where we have, and you hopefully will have seen our corporate and social responsibility report. If not, we will have it brought to you. Again, we put out an annual corporate social responsibility report, and we commit to giving 5% of our profit to charity and to nonprofits in the areas that we work in. We just raised almost $1.5 million for the American Heart Association, Broward County Heart Walk, with my son as leaders running that. That's just one of many examples. We're very active in Habitat for Humanity. My late wife passed from breast cancer, so we're very much all into breast cancer in that time of the year. But my message to you is we share your values. We're community citizens. We will participate fully in the community, be involved, and also share in what we think will be the success that we will earn. On top of that, we have a 2040 green pledge. We are working towards being carbon neutral by 2040. But in the meantime, we are the greenest furniture company in the United States. Our truck fleet is all compressed natural gas. We're the only furniture company that's running on clean burning American generated natural gas. Our recycling is beyond anything that you can believe. We recycle about 99% of our waste, 99+% of our waste. And on top of that, we are building all our properties to leadership in environmental and energy design, the U.S. certification for green buildings. We have 6 or 8, and all the projects that we have underway right now are built to LEED standards. So we're really excited about making a big investment in Plant City and having a beautiful distribution center, and having a beautiful showroom, and employing many of the folks that I think here. Our positions are well paid. We are not committed to a $15 minimum wage starting, but have very few positions that start less than that. If they are, they're in the $13, $14 range. We like to get people in and then give them good bumps after 90 to 120 days. And we'll have a lot of managerial people. And the last thing I would say is, this happens to be in a technology corridor that you're looking for. Well, we like to say we're a technology company that happens to sell furniture. That's something that we have worked towards for many years. We have right now, out of 2,400 associates, over 100 people in technology. You might say, a furniture company doing technology? When you come through and see what we do in our warehouse, our radio frequency identification program, our warehouse management system, all the operations, everything technology weaves its way through everything. And in retail, that little cell phone that we all carry around, people start their shopping here. So I'd like to, I don't want to take too much time, but I want to share with you a few things. Family business, going to be here forever. We've been in business for 49 years. We plan to be in business for another 49 years. This is the biggest investment we've ever made in one property. Why? Because it's in a great location, in a great market, and we think we can find our family values here with the folks in Plant City. We're going to build a beautiful property. I think it will be iconic for everybody who drives by. We believe very confidently that it will be a successful furniture store. When we open in Plant City, 2 months later to 3 months later, we will open in Largo, a 140,000 square foot furniture store, right between St. Pete and Clearwater. And 2 to 3 months later, we will be opening in Sarasota, in the best location in Sarasota, right on the University Town Center mall ring, right on facing I-75. That'll be 120,000 square foot show. We are looking for property in Wesley Chapel, and within 5 years, we want to have a downtown Tampa location, 5 stores, major, beautiful shopping. Our stores are gorgeous. When you see, if you can get a chance to go to Orlando and see our Mall of Millennia store, it is now rivaling our Tamarack store to be the #1 in the state. It has a beautiful home markets area with home accents. We have every kind of style of furniture that you'd want, and our prices go from very affordable $299, $399 sofas all the way to high-end Bernhardt. We have a broad range, so people come from a long way to see it. We make the shopping experience fun. Before COVID, where with COVID we had to shut it down, but our showrooms all have hospitality. With a Starbucks, it's our own brand, KC Cafe and Wine Bar. So you can walk through the showroom and have a glass of wine. And if you're a furniture retailer like I am, having ladies walking around with a couple of glasses of wine, putting them at ease a little bit, it's good for business.
That's how you get $1,770 a customer, right? I got your business plan. Mr. Picard, we really do appreciate you coming here tonight, speaking to us. We're very excited about it. I mean, as you can tell from listening to everyone, hear your passion. I'll tell you, something that we ask for companies that are coming and invest into our community. We love companies that come in and provide jobs and investment in our community, but we also like companies to come in and they're champions in our community. And since the beginning, from Ryan speaking at our EDC meeting, and he one of the things he led off with is that we invest into the communities, that we work and live in. And so that's exactly what we look for in companies. So we're very excited about it. Thank you for your presentation here tonight. And we're looking for you to have much success. I would like to clarify though, when you're talking about the other stores in Sarasota, Largo, Wesley, Chapel and so forth, those are showrooms with the installation and delivery coming from Plant City for those markets, right? Okay.
It will just be showrooms. Oh, and the last thing on the parking, we will have about 500, we will create about 500 jobs at this by our expectation based on the sales plan that we have. But we do run 24/7. Before COVID, we had set the standard for furniture delivery in the country. Same-day delivery, 7 days a week. Amazon has recently started to do same-day delivery. We started in 2002. We had started same-day delivery in 2002, and we have had it, we still have it in South Florida. Next day delivery all the time. Right now, we're overrun. Business is booming, good thing, but we actually can't hire enough associates quick enough. But
Well, thank you very much, sir.
parking's not an issue.
Question?
Thank
Before you leave,
you. Yes, ma'am.
could you introduce, is that your son or son-in-law in the back? Those that are with you?
Yeah, good looking guy.
Okay. And who else is that with you as well?
Those are our engineers and engineer contractor. Arco is the company that's going to do the contracting, and Height Engineering, Sheila, the team that is doing all the engineering of the property. They're here in case you got any questions.
Thank you
I
very
don't know
much.
all the answers. I can tell you about furniture. Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. Hope to see you come before us many more times.
Oh, we'll be here.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the commission at this time regarding the city furniture rezoning for this property? This is a public hearing. Public hearing is closed. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I'd just like to say that I'm very impressed by the fact that we have a CEO of a very large, successful company, along with his son-in-law, that attended our EDC meeting, which I thought was pretty good. And he gave a great presentation, and we're all very happy to hear the stories that he told. And tonight, you're confirming it with your presence as the main executive officer of the company. It's just a perfect fit for Plant City. That really makes me feel like we're in store for some.
Then I'm guessing you're voting yes.
Guess you're right.
Please place your vote. Yes, please.
Comment too, just a couple of comments. I still don't quite understand, like you mentioned, the 8-foot wall facing the frontage road. I can understand the west side of the properties and the south side of the properties, but I'm kind of concerned about that 8-foot wall. And I know that should come up, not necessarily in this area, but come up with site review and those type of things. But in particular, where you come into a retail facility on the 100,000 plus square foot retail store that would block the visibility and stuff like that. I'm just a little confused about that. Well,
We don't have to address it now, but when you bring it back for us again, then we'll have.
Does the plan say it has to be an 8-foot?
No.
Doesn't say that? Okay. Then we just.
So where I was coming from, sounded like we're saying the same thing here. We just didn't want, I don't think what you're hearing from this commission, that we're as a city trying to, enforce that ruling. But we're also trying to tell you that that's what you want to do. And that's what, makes sense from a business standpoint is, then we're not trying to tell you not to put a wall up there.
Yeah.
But,
well, like I said, I'd like to sit on the west and the north. I mean, west and the south, but
makes all the sense. They're on Sun King and on the south of the property.
Right.
I don't get it on the front of the property at all, but that's your building.
It is on the plan.
Okay, so what's the suggestion on the modification?
Perhaps we could modify the condition to say the option of a fence. That way we could have a fence at 6 foot or less when we come through site review, and then we're not actually tied to the 8-foot. And the site plan then would not be contradictory to the zoning approval.
That's just the one in the front. That's not. That
That's
doesn't
the
apply
north
to the,
side.
Correct, yes, sir.
But we'd like the option of a 6 foot on the front, or an option of none.
Well, we don't want you to, I think what Commissioner Spartan is saying here, and I agree 100%. We don't want to tie you down to an 8-foot wall if 6 is better, if 7's better, I mean, that's.
or none's
Or
better.
none's better, yeah.
I mean, all that's going to be saying that is the interstate traffic.
So then maybe the option would be that as part of the approval, you would, assuming that you vote for approval, that we would note that the requirement for the 8-foot fence would only be on the western property boundary and the southern property boundary as noted on the plan. And that way the motion doesn't tie us to the 8-foot. Would that work?
That's fine.
So, Mr. City, we want to make sure we do this right.
Or just include that as part of the motion?
I believe so. That way it gives the
You
flexibility.
want to restate that for
Yes.
your motion, right?
Right.
Okay.
I'll amend the motion to
to change the site plan so that there's an option for a fence on the frontage road portion of the property.
Okay, so that's the original motion being amended.
Correct.
Okay, and is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. So the public hearing is closed, and we have an amended motion to approve the rezoning with the option of either adjusting the height of the fence or eliminating the fence. Okay, on frontage road only, and the other walls on Sun King and the southern border would stay as in the current plan. Correct. Yeah, how it's currently stated in there, yes. Okay. Any discussion? Please place your vote. Record the vote, please. Let's approve with a vote of 5-0. Okay, congratulations. Mr. Conan, you got the champagne somewhere? Understand. I think what you're saying here is we want you not to be locked into something and do what's best when you get the final design. So that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Parker.
Your Honor, just a comment too. I couldn't help but sit there and listen to the story, the success story of that company and not think of W.F. Badcock Furniture. Our own Maida Pugh. Her son now is one of the leaders of that, and he is the third generation from her father. So
Good point.
it really kind of touched my heart to think about W.S. Babcock and Maida and Billy Pugh and Billy Jr. and those type of things. Just a personal note.
I agree. And I would say if we took a vote from anyone here that's 50 and over, we probably all had a waterbed at some time in our life, right? Don't raise your hand, but.
I busted mine, almost drowned.
Exactly. Okay.
Still uses it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, we have one public hearing left on our agenda tonight. Item number 7 has been pulled, so we are on our final public hearing of the evening. Final item. Madam Clerk.
This is a quasi-judicial public hearing on a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Plant City waiving the requirements for reclaimed water lines for proposed subdivision of the Alaventa Plan Development District as a proposed subdivision located in Section 8, Township 29 South, Range 22 East, Hillsborough County, Florida."
Okay. Einstetter, good to see you again here this evening.
Thank you, appreciate it. My name is Ross Einstetter. I'm a planner with the City of Plant City, and I have been sworn in. The last item tonight for you is going to be PB 2021-10 for Alaventa waiver of reclaimed water. Alaventa, a 31-lot single-family subdivision, has requested a waiver to the requirement for the installation of reclaimed water lines. It is located on the northeast corner of Trapnell Road and Daniels Road. It's approximately 9 acres in size with the zoning of PD and a future land use of mixed-use gateway. This is the preliminary plat that was approved by a planning board on February 24th. The Utilities Department has no objections to the waiver request, noting that reclaimed water is not available for the site. As stated earlier, on February 24th, 2021, the planning board found 5-0 the waiver consistent with section 94-138B to allow reclaimed water lines to be waived in areas not programmed for such service, and to forward to the City Commission with the recommendation of approval. So the recommendation is the City Commission approve the resolution adopting or approving the waiver from providing reclaimed water to the Alaventa subdivision. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Okay.
If you have any questions.
Any questions for staff? The bottom line here is we don't have this program to have reclaimed water in this area.
Right, yeah, it's at kind of like the tip of the city limits. So the, if I go back to the slide. The property just to the east was already approved. It was Bon Silva, and they've already had the waiver for the reclaimed water.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. Any questions for staff? Seeing none? Okay, does the applicant like to speak? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the commission at this time regarding item 6C1? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Motion to approve the waiver, Your Honor.
Second that motion.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, please place your vote. Record the vote, please. And the waiver is approved with a vote of 5-0. Before I close the meeting out, Mr. City Manager, I think you heard, Mr. Koenig mentioned earlier that things that he took notice on about our city, and one of them was the level of professionalism and responsiveness of our staff. On behalf of the commission, we want to thank you and the staff for when we're dealing with people that are looking at making huge investments into our city and bringing those jobs that are vital to our citizens, that they get such a, response from obviously a very successful entrepreneur to speak like that today. So on behalf of all of us, thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.